Imagine waking up one morning to discover that everything you believed about your favorite Hollywood star was only half the truth. What if behind the million-dollar smiles, red carpet glitz, and magazine headlines lay a hidden struggle so intense that even the tabloids failed to uncover it? Prepare yourself, because you are about to venture into one of the most jaw-dropping stories ever connected to Ben Affleck, an untold saga brimming with ambition, pressure, and triumphant resilience. And before we plunge deeper, make sure to hit subscribe so you will not miss tomorrow's equally astonishing story. Scene 1. Ben Affleck was not always the confident, successful figure the world came to know. Growing up in the unassuming neighborhood of Berkeley, California, he led what many would call an ordinary childhood. There were no flashbulbs trailing him down suburban sidewalks, no urgent phone calls from major film studios. Instead, there was just a reserved boy with persistent daydreams, scribbling ideas into worn notebooks he kept tucked under his pillow. While other kids played ball or hung out at the local arcade, Ben found himself captivated by the magic of storytelling. He would pen miniature scripts late into the night, half hoping that someone, anyone, would realize he possessed a flair for creative expression. Yet those around him did not always see the potential he believed he had. Teachers politely noted that he seemed more lost in thought than attuned to the standard curriculum. Friends laughed off his obsession with analyzing classic movies line by line. But for Ben, films were not just idle entertainment. They were a lifeline to something bigger. Night after night, he devoured the works of luminary directors, studying how certain camera angles could transform a scene's emotional core. He scrutinized the expressions of iconic actors, dissecting how a single glance could convey entire backstories. At the time, nobody fathomed that these adolescent obsessions would one day shape an entire career. As he inched into his teenage years, a kernel of certainty began to grow inside him, the belief that he was meant for cinematic endeavors. Auditions for local theater productions came next, though many ended in disappointment. Casting directors did not always see in him the star potential that he felt burning inside. Sometimes he was too tall, or not striking enough, or simply overshadowed by more extroverted young performers. Even so, he refused to let the sting of these minor failures diminish his grand ambition. Every rejection steeled his resolve, telling him that talent alone might not be enough. Resilience, too, was essential. In the midst of these early struggles, Ben forged an unlikely partnership with a fellow dreamer from Massachusetts, Matt Damon. They bonded over countless cups of cheap coffee, locked in deep conversation about scripts that might one day shake Hollywood. Their camaraderie flourished in cramped apartments where the smell of stale pizza and pen ink blended into a distinct atmosphere of relentless creativity. At first, their attempts at screenwriting were met with indifference from industry insiders. Nobody seemed particularly eager to put faith in two young men with neither connections nor a proven track record. However, that indifference did little to quell their drive. Fueled by mutual support, they worked night after night to refine a script that eventually turned into Good Will Hunting. Studio rejections could not stamp out the raw sincerity of the story. Something in its depiction of genius found in unexpected places captured the hearts of a few key believers. When the film finally materialized, it exploded onto the cultural stage, garnering widespread acclaim and prestigious awards. In a dizzying twist, Ben Affleck, the very same boy who had once scrawled mini-scripts in an old notebook, found himself accepting an Oscar. Yet success rarely travels a simple path. The immediate whirlwind brought talk show appearances, media coverage, and a barrage of scripts. Studios identified a bankable name in Ben, and they salivated over the prospect of molding him into a versatile leading man. For the public, he became the symbol of overnight success. But behind the camera flashes, he privately felt unmoored. He had climbed the mountain of ambition, yet found that standing on that peak introduced anxieties he had never anticipated. He realized with a jolt that being lauded as an Oscar winner was not the finish line, but merely the start of an even more complex journey. Late into the nights, when parties wound down and applause faded, he wrestled with questions that haunted him. Was he about to become just another pawn in Hollywood's profit-driven machine? Could he continue to push creative boundaries while also satisfying the mainstream appetite for predictable blockbusters? Each day seemed to bring a fresh wave of external pressures. Directors pitched him scripts that felt formulaic, tabloids invented personal dramas, and fans clamored for the next big thing. Sometimes he ventured onto film sets brimming with confidence. Other times, he woke up haunted by the fear that his success could evaporate as quickly as it appeared. Scene 1 concludes with a snapshot of Ben driving alone through nighttime Los Angeles. Neon signs reflect off the windshield, the city's frenetic energy a stark reminder that he has, in fact, arrived. But his posture behind the wheel reveals tension in his shoulders, an unspoken worry etched into his face. He pulls over to a quiet street, shifts in a park, and gazes up at the distant stars. It dawns on him that the ambitions which propelled him here might just be the same forces that tear him apart, if he fails to find his footing in a whirlwind of celebrity. Scene 2, Ben Affleck's second act in Hollywood, was marked by a growing distance between his public image and his inner convictions. As his reputation soared, studios thrust upon him big-budget roles, some shallow, others more promising. On the surface, it looked like he had it all: blockbuster paychecks, luxurious events, and the constant hum of paparazzi attention. Viewers saw a man who had seamlessly transitioned from indie darling to mainstream phenomenon. But within Ben, a storm brewed that no red carpet glamour could fully suppress. The pivot came when he agreed to star in a film that demanded intense emotional depth. Hoping for a serious challenge, he threw himself wholeheartedly into the project. Although the shoot was physically demanding, it became psychologically transformative. For weeks, he inhabited the mindset of a tormented character, immersing himself in long rehearsals and late-night discussions with the director about how to strip away every superficial layer. What no one realized was that this immersive approach strained him in ways he could not easily articulate. Off-set, he struggled with persistent self-doubt. Days blurred into nights where exhaustion, both mental and physical, tethered him to a sense of perpetual anxiety. Cracks began to show during interviews. When asked standard promotional questions, his answers felt guarded, lacking the usual spark. Seasoned journalists speculated that something weighed heavily on him, yet the tabloids remained fixated on trivial gossip, alleged romances, paparazzi-fueled controversies, or flamboyant rumors that had little basis in truth. Rather than unburden himself publicly, he retreated, shielding the deeper turbulence from the prying eyes of reporters. It was easier to let the tabloids spin harmless stories than to acknowledge the private battles he felt unready to address. Friends noticed the shift. He no longer wore the carefree grin of early success. Instead, there was a guarded sincerity about him, a seriousness that implied more than the typical challenges of an acting career. Matt Damon, who had risen with him through the ranks, tried to offer counsel, recalling the endless nights of mutual brainstorming and emotional support they had once shared. But even Damon's empathy could not entirely bridge the gulf that Ben found himself tumbling into. The glitz of success no longer soothed the insecurities gnawing away beneath the surface. Still, the world of cinema pressed on, bringing new opportunities and an avalanche of responsibilities. Ben, ever the determined professional, continued signing on to films that piqued his interest, but inside he felt a fragmentation of purpose. One part of him savored the chance to bring layered characters to life, while another part questioned whether he was merely dancing to Hollywood's tune rather than forging his own path. The spotlight he once prayed for now felt glaring and oppressive, fueling introspection about what genuine fulfillment might look like. In the midst of mounting tension, he seized the opportunity to direct his first major motion picture. This leap was not taken lightly. Colleagues argued it was too soon. Critics whispered that his attempt might be a vanity project. However, driven by a hunger for creative control and a longing to shape cinematic narratives beyond mere acting, he He poured every ounce of energy into proving his skeptics wrong. Pre-production days were grueling. He devoured countless books on directing, studied behind-the-scenes footage of legendary filmmakers, and meticulously storyboarded each scene. The process awakened a slumbering ambition in him, reminiscent of the days he spent co-writing Good Will Hunting. From day one on set, he refused to masquerade as an arrogant star in charge. Instead, he engaged the crew with surprising humility, mindful that filmmaking was a collaborative endeavor. Those who had anticipated a frazzled or overbearing presence were taken aback by his thoughtful leadership. He listened intently to cast members' ideas, balanced the input of seasoned cinematographers, and guided everyone to see the story through his lens. By the time filming wrapped, a cautious sense of optimism radiated among the team. Perhaps Ben Affleck was more than just a leading man. Maybe he was a bona fide storyteller in the making. Once editing commenced, however, the old pressures roared back. Executives demanded changes to suit marketing agendas. Test audiences offered conflicting feedback, and personal responsibilities weighed on him more than ever. Tempers flared in the editing suite, with producers urging him to simplify certain plot elements that they deemed too risky for mainstream audiences. Ben resisted, determined to preserve the moral ambiguities at the film's heart. He believed that genuine stories often spring from messy truths, not sanitized illusions. It was a stance that might cost him studio favor, yet he remained unwavering. By the time the film reached theaters, critics were split. Some championed its honesty, praising Ben's deft handling of gritty realities. Others lamented its refusal to cater to typical Hollywood formulas. The box office numbers were respectable, if not astounding. But for Ben, the real victory lay in having fought for a vision he believed in. In interviews, he occasionally alluded to how unnerving it was to step into a realm where compromise lurked at every corner, how each directorial choice felt like walking a tightrope between commercial expectations and personal integrity. Audiences, sensing his sincerity, embraced him in a new light. No longer just an actor, but a multifaceted talent eager to experiment. Scene 2 ends with a moment of solitude. Ben stands on the balcony of a rented loft in Los Angeles, scanning a script in the glow of a street lamp. He can hear the distant hum of cars, a reminder of the city's unceasing pace. The script in his hand is neither a surefire blockbuster nor an easy sell, yet its pages resonate with emotional authenticity. He smiles faintly, contemplating the next directorial leap, aware that each new endeavor could unearth deeper truths about himself, and perhaps about Hollywood's restless heartbeat. Scene 3, the final act of Ben Affleck's hidden journey, converges upon a critical crossroads. Having tasted both the adrenaline rush of stardom and the draining realities of constant scrutiny, he now grapples with an internal question: how to balance personal well-being with the insatiable demands of a profit-hungry industry. Instead of dashing from one high-profile deal to the next, he takes a momentary step back, confounding fans and the media alike. During this reflective hiatus, rumor mills spin, speculating about his motivation for retreat. Some tabloids accuse him of losing ambition. Others suggest personal turmoil or career disillusionment. The truth is far more nuanced. Ben delves into reading about the evolution of cinema, from its silent era to the latest digital revolutions. He immerses himself in analyzing how directors like Stanley Kubrick and Martin Scorsese used film as a means to challenge societal norms. Through deep introspection, he decides to channel his own experiences, both the triumphs and the heartbreaks, into a cinematic narrative that might resonate with viewers searching for something real. He emerges from his hiatus with renewed determination and a bold script in hand. It is not a flashy superhero blockbuster or a saccharine romantic drama. Rather, it is a grounded portrait of an ordinary individual wrestling with extraordinary pressures, sketched in part from Ben's own experiences. Heavy with moral conflict, yet sprinkled with moments of hope, the screenplay is a tribute to anyone who has ever fought to reconcile personal dreams with the external world's unrelenting expectations. During pre-production, He encounters the same cyclical challenges. Studio executives question the film's commercial prospects, sponsors push for product placements, and marketing teams urge a safer approach. But this time, Ben enters negotiations from a position of conviction, demanding the creative autonomy he feels he has earned. He is no longer the uncertain newcomer, nor is he the star blindly accepting roles that pay lavish salaries but hollow his spirit. Instead, he stands as a director, writer, and actor who knows precisely the kind of film he needs to make, even if it steps outside mainstream comfort zones. Shooting this new project proves to be an emotional roller coaster. The storyline cuts close to his personal life, forcing him to confront moments of vulnerability in front of the camera. Some days, his voice cracks with the strain of performing scenes that echo real emotional wounds. Yet the cast and crew rally around him, galvanizing a sense of solidarity. A hush falls over the set whenever they roll camera. It is as if they're collectively bearing witness to not just a fictional narrative, but an honest reflection of the man steering the ship. When production finally wraps, there is a palpable sense of anticipation. The film lacks the guaranteed box office bang that big franchises promise, but it glows with a raw energy seldom seen in large-scale studio fare. Early screenings generate murmurs of excitement. Critics who see advance cuts praise its heartfelt exploration of modern identity, the push and pull between who we want to be and who the world demands us to be. Social media buzz hints that this project could rewrite opinions on who Ben Affleck truly is, beyond the headlines that once marred his reputation. Premiering at an esteemed festival, the film elicits standing ovations from an audience unaccustomed to such earnest introspection in a star-driven feature. Tears roll down the faces of viewers who connect the on-screen struggle with their own real-life quandaries. In the Q&A session that follows, a young filmmaker asks how Ben overcame the fear of baring his soul in an industry known for punishing any form of perceived weakness. Smiling, Ben offers a simple truth. Sometimes, stepping away from the noise of external expectations is the only way to rediscover the creative fire that started it all. News outlets jump on the story, many echoing a singular sentiment. After years of navigating fame's highs and lows, Ben Affleck may have forged his magnum opus. Yet, in private conversations, he remains modest, refusing to celebrate too early. He knows that public opinion fluctuates like a fickle tide. What matters more is the liberating sense that he has shaped art on his own terms. The period of doubt that once fueled tabloids now becomes a testament to the resilience fueling his renewed passion. He sees a path forward that balances commercial viability with personal vision, a rare equilibrium in a world addicted to flashy marketing and viral headlines. In the closing frames of Scene 3, we witness Ben standing outside a small theater as the final festival screening ends. The crowd emerges, chattering excitedly, some wearing the reflective expressions that only come from witnessing a story that stirs raw emotion. Streetlights bathe the sidewalk in a warm glow. He watches them from a short distance, momentarily unseen, processing the echo of their applause. For a moment, he thinks back to his childhood self, scribbling dialogues in spiral notebooks, forging alliances with like-minded dreamers, and daring to believe in a world that once felt out of reach. A quiet smile creases his lips. The future remains uncertain, but for perhaps the first time in years, he feels anchored. He has discovered that true success emerges not only in box office returns or glowing reviews, but in the faith one keeps alive when everything else wavers.